started with that jackhammer jab, and there it is. And he hurt Holyfield with his jab. And remember, and I want to emphasize this, Holyfield kept moving to his own right, where he would get hit with the jab. And there's Teddy Atlas, the man you talked about, who really positioned himself tonight as one of the fine trainers in boxing. Everyone knew he had the knowledge, but now he stepped up and made it happen. And in round 12, Michael Moore, using the jab and the straight left hand and also body punches, really took it to Holyfield, and it was a jab that hurt him.
Teddy Atlas said one other thing tonight that reminded us of Leonard Hearns 1, when Angelo Dundee screamed at Ray Leonard, said, "You're blowing it, son, you're blowing it, son." And that's exactly what Teddy Atlas said at the end of the 9th round. But a big finish for Michael Moore, and he is the new WBA and IBF heavyweight champion of the world. And now, for the first time this century, first time in history, as a matter of fact, a left-handed heavyweight champion, and the balance of power has shifted in the boxing community. The name is John Davamos. He is the manager and, in fact, the promoter of Michael Moore, and he is the new power broker in this sport. We will continue our live coverage from Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, where Michael Moore has become the new heavyweight champion of the world. Welcome back to Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, where we now have a new heavyweight champion of the world. His name is Michael Moore. He's 26 years old, and he is still undefeated, 35-0. He won a majority decision over Evander Holyfield about a half hour ago. And I think it qualifies as a pretty good-size upset, Al.
It is indeed. I think most of the people were picking Evander Holyfield. In fact, I would say about 4/5 of the press and all the rest, including me, thought Holyfield would win this fight. It ended up being a little closer than I thought it was, and maybe some others. But the fact is, it is a big upset. And boy, you said a mouthful when you said the first lefty to win the title, because that was a major part of him winning.
The Holyfield camp has just informed us that the former champion injured a left shoulder in the 2nd round. And during the 6th round, as you see him leaving the Caesars Palace Pavilion, he is apparently on his way to the hospital, from what we are told. During the 6th round, in his corner, he told his trainer, Don Turner, "My left shoulder is stiff." We are told, in fact, that he may have injured it as early as the 2nd round, so we will not be hearing from Evander Holyfield. We are expecting to hear from Michael Moore in just a moment, and passing in front of us now is Evander Holyfield. His arm, Al, as we see down below us, is in a sling. He has sunglasses on and a baseball cap. He certainly looks like a beaten man.
Well, and if in fact that left shoulder was hurt as early as the 2nd round, that would indicate why he didn't throw so many left hooks.
Well, let's go meet the new heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Moore, and he is with Wally Matthews. Wally?
All right. I'm here with the new heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Moore. Michael, the first thing I want to mention to you is, according to CompuBox, you outlanded Holyfield 341 to 194. Do you know that if you did not win the last round, the fight would have been scored a draw?
I don't know. It was the last round. This is the fight of my life, and I had to go out there and do it. Teddy was pushing me and hollering at me in the corner, so that woke me up and made me have to go out there and do it.
I want to get to some of that, but did you have a sense that you were winning the fight, and did you have any idea that it could be that close at the end?
I thought that I was winning the fight due to my jab, and I knew he was fighting in spurts, but I stayed to my game plan, and I came out and did it.
I think the biggest question we heard over and over this week was that, can Moore stand up to the pressure? He hasn't been in this kind of a situation before. Will he just freeze up? How big a moment was it when you got into the ring, and how were you able to deal with it?
I blocked all of it out. I'm a strong-minded person, so I blocked everything out from the beginning. I knew it was going to be a lot of pressure. I knew it was going to be a lot of press and media, and I didn't let it get to me, not one bit.
You mentioned Teddy Atlas talking to you constantly, and he talked to you right up to the opening bell. He talked to you right up to the bell every single round. Can you give us some of the stuff that he was saying to you?
Well, he was saying, Michael, if you don't go out there and do it, you're not bringing your ass back here into the corner. You want me to go out there and fight for you? We worked hard for 7.5 weeks, and you're not going to go out there and blow it. This is you win this fight. It's for you and your son, and this is it for you, you know?
Now, you know, one thing that Holyfield has told us, or his camp has told us, is that he injured his shoulder in the second round. Did you notice anything different in him, you know, in the second half of the fight?
I didn't know anything. I was in there to do what I had to do.
I know it's early to be asking you a question like this. You just won the title, but what do you plan? Have you thought ahead of who you'd like to fight? Lennox Lewis, Tyson, Bo, anything?
I'm going to go and see my son. I'm going to go ride some wave runners and relax.
All right, Michael Moore going to take a well-deserved rest after winning the heavyweight title here tonight over Evander Holyfield. Now back to Charlie and Al.
All right, Wally, and a couple of questions that are now going to have to be asked about Evander Holyfield. As you recall, in our Sunday night conversation, he talked about how he wanted to fight through 1996 and how he wanted Mike Tyson. Was he looking ahead? And at the age of 31 and having gone now 5 fights in a row, the full distance of 12 rounds, does he have anything left?
Well, people will be asking that question. My feeling about this fight is that Evander Holyfield lost for one very important reason. He ended up losing what turned out to be a close fight because he didn't know how to fight this fight. He may have hurt his shoulder early in the fight, but he still threw a lot of left hooks that he could have thrown early and gotten himself in position to do so. So Holyfield could fight again, in my opinion, if he just would do it the right way.
Michael Moore is the new heavyweight champion of the world. Evander Holyfield is on the way to the hospital. We are on our way to a commercial break, and we will continue with our live coverage of the heavyweight championship of the world. Michael Moore is your new WBA IBF champion. Conference is heavyweight champion of the world. Let's go down there live.
I was in there to do what I had to do, and to answer your question, I didn't know if anything was wrong with him or not. He was punching like a mule. You know, so I didn't know if his arm was sore or not.
Michael, were you surprised with some of the shots you hit him with in the 5th and then especially in the 12th that he didn't go down?
No, I mean, boxing is a sport where you're going to get hit. You can't knock everybody out. But you can build up points and do what you have to do to win a fight, and that's what I did. I interrupted his plans. He signed to fight Lennox Lewis, right? I interrupt everybody's plans. Never underestimate double M. My head is ringing.
How did you feel going into the 12th round? Did you feel that you were ahead, and what did Teddy tell you going into the 12th?
Well, Teddy was drilling me from the beginning. He said, Michael, if you want this, you have to go out there because you're behind or something like that. But I did honestly feel that I was winning the fight due to my jab, and Teddy and I worked on that from the beginning, and he had said that disrupt him with your jab, and I did it from the first round. It wasn't effective enough for him, but I was satisfied. I was in there fighting, but I was satisfied. I'll have to hear about it probably tomorrow.
Excuse me. Michael, you said that Teddy worked on the jab, you know, and you worked on that from the beginning. Did you have any idea that when you went in that it would be so totally effective, as effective it was the dominant factor in the fight?
Well, I have a pretty effective jab, a good strong jab. If I can utilize that when I'm at my best inside the ring, then I can disrupt a lot of people.
Michael. Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Michael, there have been a lot of strange decisions, especially in the heavyweight fights. What are you thinking going into the 12th round? Do you feel you have to win that last round to win it?
I answered that question already, a gentleman over here. I said that I felt that I was winning the fight going into the 12th round. And I had to keep my composure because I knew he was going to come out there and try to take the fight to me. But I used my jab and it was effective. I believe it won me the fight.
Michael,
And while Michael Moore continues to answer some of the questions from the press here, we go downstairs to Wally Matthews standing by with his trainer, Teddy Atlas. Wally.
Okay, Teddy, they don't award co-heavyweight championships of the world, but I thought that tonight you did almost as much as Michael did to win this fight. What were you telling him constantly, round after round in there?
I was asking him, I was telling him and reminding him that sometimes people make decisions in life, and they decide to either survive or they decide to win. And I told him that I refuse to let him decide to survive. I said, you got to sometimes make a decision to win. I said, this will be over with. In every round, there was 3 minutes less. I said, but for the rest of your life, you're going to have to carry around the burden of knowing that you just survived. Instead of going, not everyone gets a chance to win. So I told him that he was very lucky to get a chance to win, and that the right guy in front of him was the right guy to lose this night, but he had to want to win.
At which point in the fight did you start to think that maybe Moore was just looking to survive?
At a certain point, I don't remember what round it was, but it was early on, and I thought he was just doing enough sometimes to keep him off him. And I told him that, you know, when it was all over with, if he continued doing that he wouldn't have lied to me, and that I wouldn't have told him you did a good job. And I told him you get caught up with all this hoopla and all this stuff with the press and everything, and very nice things were said, and a lot of people started saying if he just had an honest effort, that he would be a winner in a certain way. I said, that's not true. That's a lie. Because now you can win. This guy's not right. This guy is ready to lose. And you can win the fight. So if you go in there, you're not going to trick me. If you go in there and do just enough to lose, and you think you're going to get a pat on the back and me say that it was gallant, that I wasn't going to do that, because I expect him to win the fight and to try to win the fight.
All right, Teddy, I know you strove for excellence throughout the training camp, and you drilled that into Moore, and it paid off here tonight. Back to Al and Charlie in the studio.
All right, Wally, 37-year-old Teddy Atlas, who trained in the corner of and at the knee of Cus D'Amato, now is the trainer of the heavyweight champion of the world. This is a guy who has grown up through the school of hard knocks, and I think everybody in the boxing community is especially happy for Teddy tonight.
He did a wonderful job this evening, and what he said was so prophetic. He told his man, Holyfield's not right. He's not fighting you right. He's ready to lose, and only you can lose the fight if you don't go after it. And let's give Michael Moore all the credit in the world. He did go after it. He kept his composure. He did exactly the right things. He and Teddy Atlas scored a team victory.
Indeed they did, and Evander Holyfield is on his way to the hospital now to have his left shoulder looked at, which apparently injured as early as the second round. He complained to his corner in the 6th round that it was stiff. And when we continue our live coverage from Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Wally Matthews will be talking with Don Turner, the trainer of the former heavyweight champion of the world, Evander Holyfield. Michael Moore is the new heavyweight champion. Welcome back to Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Evander Holyfield is on the way to the hospital, and Michael Moore is on the way to new heights as the new heavyweight champion. Big story, of course, coming into this fight, the changing of the guard within the Holyfield camp. The trainer for tonight's fight, Don Turner. He is standing by now with Wally Matthews. Wally?
I'm here with Don Turner, who trained Evander Holyfield for this fight and worked the corner. Don, what went wrong tonight?
I guess it was Michael Moore.
Were there things that you wanted Evander to do that he wasn't able to do or wouldn't do for some reason?
Well, he was capable of doing it. You saw it in spurts that he was doing things that we had asked him to do, but he seemed to kept dropping his left hand. He didn't have enough strength in it to really hold Michael off. You know, right now he's on his way to the hospital. He got his arm in a sling. It hurt around the 2nd round. I thought it was about the 5th, but he is handicapped. But I'm not taking anything from Michael Moore. He fought a great fight. He was in great condition. He took punches well, and, you know, he just fought one tremendous fight.
At what point in the fight did Evander tell you about the shoulder injury?
He never did.
He never mentioned it?
He just said, rub my shoulders, bother me. That's all he ever did. He never said that. He tried to rub it out. If you look at the tape, you'll see he was rubbing his shoulder in between rounds.
What about the cut? How much of a problem was that?
It was a big cut, but it wasn't a problem. You know, I saw it was in a bad place. It was under the eyelid instead of on the top, and it was hard to work under. He'll get some stitches, I'm sure.
Real quickly, what did you think of the decision?
I think it was a fair decision. You know, I'm not going to take anything from Michael Moore and his team. They did a great job, and you know, and they got my best wishes because, you know, Teddy is a great friend of mine. We always tease him. He won up on me now, but he won up on me with the big one.
All righty. Don Turner, who worked with Evander Holyfield tonight, back to Charlie now.
There'll be a lot of second guessing about Don Turner in the papers tomorrow morning.
Well, you know, I didn't hear much in there about what specifically they wanted Evander Holyfield to do. In future, I'd like to hear more about that because Don Turner is a fine boxing man and a delightful man, but something went wrong tonight. It was either what he was telling Holyfield in training and what he told him tonight, or what Holyfield didn't do. And Evander Holyfield didn't even try to fight this left-hander the right way from the first round. So whether he hurt his shoulder in the second or third or fourth round, he never stepped outside that right foot. He never threw double left hooks, and he never got himself in position to win this fight. And that was a strategic failure right from the get-go.
Which is why, after 203 heavyweight championship fights in the 20th century, we finally have a left-handed champion. His name is Michael Moore. Al Bernstein and I will rejoin you on the Sports Center edition at 2:30 Eastern Time. Baseball tonight is coming up just a little bit. And as you take a look at Evander Holyfield on his way to the hospital, perhaps the end of the reign and perhaps the end of his career for Evander Holyfield.
There are few sporting events, if any, that can match a heavyweight title fight in terms of overall excitement.
Friday night in Las Vegas, the champ Evander Holyfield battled Michael Moore. Let's head right to Vegas and join Charlie Steiner and Al Bernstein.
Thank you, Craig, and welcome back to Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, where on Friday night a new heavyweight champion of the world was crowned, 26-year-old Michael Moore, who won a unanimous decision for Evander Holyfield, whose reign as champion is certainly over, and perhaps even his career. Al Bernstein joins me now, and the big question going into this fight, Al, what kind of impact would the southpaw stance of Michael Moore have on Evander Holyfield? Well, the answer was a very significant impact.
Yeah, it really became the most significant story in this fight, Charlie. From the beginning, Evander Holyfield looked completely lost against the southpaws, as if he had never even trained against one. Here in round two, Michael Moore started to really dominate with that style, and Holyfield couldn't figure out a way to get his left hook in and get in punching position. But ironically, while Moore was establishing this, Holyfield scored a flash knockdown. Despite that, two of the judges had a 10-9 only for Holyfield, and one judge, Jerry Roth, had a 10-10 an even round. Had he not scored an even round, the fight would have been a draw.
So it was a close fight on two of the three judges' scorecards here at Caesars Palace. In round four, it seemed as if Michael Moore was beginning to gain some confidence out there.
Yeah, he was getting his jab in, a jab that would dominate this fight. And then in round five, the worst nightmare for Holyfield, working without a cut man, Don Turner handling it himself, there was a cut that developed on the eyelid of Holyfield.
And that would be an irritant to Holyfield, but it really didn't impact on the fight. However, in the sixth round, Holyfield complained to his corner that he had hurt his shoulder. We are told later, of course, that he apparently suffered the injury as far back as the second round.
And then in the mid to later rounds, Holyfield completely took over, using that jab as a good weapon. He landed 180 jabs to only 36 for Holyfield.
Michael Moore was exhorted on through the night by his cornerman Teddy Atlas, at one point not liking the style that Moore was employing. He said, "Do you want to trade places? I can be more aggressive than you." But in fact, when all was said and done, Michael Moore turned on the juices, especially late in the fight.
He had a magnificent 12th round, and apparently he needed it to cement this victory, had Holyfield in trouble. And at the end, even if a couple of the judges thought it was close, Michael Moore did not. He said, "I'm the winner," and Holyfield looked for all the world like he had lost.
Holyfield a 2-1 favorite, Moore a 2-1 underdog, and Wally Matthews talked to the new heavyweight champion of the world immediately after the fight.
Here at the new heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Moore. Michael, the first thing I want to mention to you is, according to CompuBox, you outlanded Holyfield 341 to 194. Do you know that if you did not win the last round, the fight would have been scored a draw?
I don't know. It was the last round. This is the fight of my life, and I had to go out there and do it. Teddy was pushing me and hollering at me in the corner, so that woke me up and made me have to go out there and do it.
I want to get to some of that, but did you have a sense that you were winning the fight, and did you have any idea that it could be that close at the end?
I thought that I was winning the fight due to my jab, and I knew he was fighting in spurts, but I stayed to my game plan, and I came out and did it.
I think the biggest question we heard over and over this week was that, can Moore stand up to the pressure? He hasn't been in this kind of a situation before. Will he just freeze up? How big a moment was it when you got into the ring, and how were you able to deal with it?
I blocked all of it out. I'm a strong-minded person, so I blocked everything out from the beginning. I knew it was going to be a lot of pressure. I knew it was going to be a lot of press and media, and I didn't let it get to me, not one bit.
You mentioned Teddy Atlas talking to you constantly, and he talked to you right up to the opening bell. He talked to you right up to the bell every single round. Can you give us some of the stuff that he was saying to you?
Well, he was saying, Michael, if you don't go out there and do it, you're not bringing your ass back here into the corner. You want me to go out there and fight for you? We worked hard for 7.5 weeks, and you're not going to go out there and blow it. This is you win this fight. It's for you and your son, and this is it for you.
Now, you know, one thing that Holyfield has told us, or his camp has told us, was that he injured his shoulder in the second round. Did you notice anything different in him, you know, in the second half of the fight?
I didn't know anything. I was in there to do what I had to do.
I know it's early to be asking you a question like this. You just won the title, but what do you plan? Have you thought ahead of who you'd like to fight? Lennox Lewis, Tyson, Bo, anything?
I'm going to go and see my son. I'm going to go ride some wave runners and relax a little bit.
All right, Michael Moore going to take a well-deserved rest after winning the heavyweight title here tonight over Evander Holyfield. Now back to Charlie and Al.
You know, the thing that stands out to me, Charlie, about that interview is the fact that Michael Moore was so focused. He said he blocked everything out, did not let the moment affect him, and in a way he did fight almost in a robotic fashion, doing exactly what Teddy Atlas wanted him to do, and he was allowed to do it because Holyfield never adapted to what he did, and he got the championship just that way.
Meanwhile, Evander Holyfield was unable to attend the post-fight press conference or talk to our Wally Matthews because he was taken to the hospital immediately after the fight. As he left the arena, his left arm was in a sling. He said he injured it as early as the second round. He said he felt he heard something tear at that time. After the fight was over, Wally Matthews talked with his trainer, Don Turner.
He seemed to keep dropping his left hand. He didn't have enough strength in it to really hold Michael off. You know, right now he's on his way to the hospital. He's got his arm in a sling. It hurt around the second round. I thought it was about the fifth, but he is handicapped. But I'm not taking anything from Michael Moore. He fought a great fight. He was in great condition. He took punches well, and, you know, he just fought one tremendous fight.
So Michael Moore is the new heavyweight champion of the world, and perhaps we have seen the last of Evander Holyfield.
Very possible, and I'm sure that he and his trainer, Don Turner, who we just heard from, would like to have a little more time in the gym or have that time back again, because something went awry. Either the instructions he was given on fighting a lefty or the fact that he just didn't want to employ them, because they never seemed to have a plan on how they were going to attack Moore, and it never worked during the fight.
Al and I'll be back a little bit later on Sports Center to take a look ahead at the heavyweight division now that there's a new King of the Hill. For now, for Al Bernstein, Charlie Steiner, sending it back to Craig Kilborn and the highlights from the NBA tonight. Craig.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm Nick Charles.
And I'm Fred Hickman, and the news today was shocking, but only because of the reason it happened, I guess.
Right. Bittersweet, certainly regret and relief. Evander Holyfield, Fred, retired from boxing today after being diagnosed as having a heart condition. Doctors said Holyfield's situation is non-life-threatening, that he can live a normal, active life, but could no longer box. And so 4 days after losing his heavyweight title, the former champion announced his exit from a sport he once ruled.
I'd like to thank the Lord for letting me have 23 years of this boxing career, and it's been great.
What was great was what it took for Evander Holyfield to be a champion, lose his championship, and win it back again. But last Friday night, he looked suddenly far older than his 31 years, losing to Michael Moore in what would be his final hour as a fighter.
I prayed throughout the whole fight that, you know, asked the Lord just for me just to make it the 12th round. And I did, and I feel that me making that 12th round was a victory for me.
It's an absolute miracle that he was able to finish this fight. I mean, he fought 12 rounds for the heavyweight championship of the world, essentially in heart failure.
Holyfield Tuesday admitted the warning signs were there for a while, but he chose to just fight right through them.
The older I got, I kind of felt that it became a struggle each and every time I trained, and I guess that sometimes people told me I was being lazy, because I complained a lot about how stiff my shoulders were and my arms and how tired I would get. compared to how I used to work.
But hard work was so ingrained in Holyfield that he fought every fight as if his full being was at stake.
I worked hard, and I trained hard.
That steel-willed work ethic and granite chin may not have made him a celebrity, but it earned Holyfield millions and the admiration of those who knew what he poured in to every round of every fight. This was no golden boy. He only won a bronze medal at the 1984 Olympics, then turned professional. Got caught fighting in an obscure weight class until he decided to make himself into a heavyweight. On October 25th, 1990, he fully ascended the mountain, knocking out Buster Douglas to claim boxing's biggest prize, the heavyweight title. Still, he got bashed for beating an overweight champion who was ripe for the taking, and later took shots for fighting over-the-hill former champions in low-risk, high-paying title defenses. Yet even his most severe critics never questioned Evander Holyfield's enormous heart. How ironic, then, that the same heart that fueled his unassailable courage would ultimately betray him in a physical sense.
God just, I feel like took a load off of me, you know. Now I can use my heart in loving people in a different way instead of using my heart in scuffing. I have a wonderful family, and my brothers and sisters, my girlfriend, my kids, and you all, I got a lot of loving to give. And I don't think my heart will break on that.
Sounds like more than a happy ending. It's the beginning of a new life for a man of courage, dignity, quiet class, and the pride of a champion. Evander Holyfield hardly needs a title belt to verify those redeeming and enduring qualities.
Again, doctors stress that Holyfield's condition is not life-threatening. Holyfield, though, made his decision to retire as soon as he learned the results of tests taken yesterday. Fred?
Meanwhile, the man who took Holyfield down was back in New York getting his just desserts today. A heavy metal day, in fact, as Michael Moore received his IBF and WBA belts. A Moore decision that debilitated Holyfield Friday night, but that news didn't dampen his spirits.
I'm the man now. Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. Anyway, Moore had nothing but admirable things to say about Holyfield.
I've always followed him in boxing as a light heavyweight, myself as a light heavyweight on up to the heavyweight. And I've always respected him, always liked him as a boxer. I wish him the best.
Boy, who wouldn't, Fred?
Yeah, courageous thing. But, now that this has happened, the heavyweight division's kind of up for grabs. What about Lennox Lewis? When is perhaps he and Moore going to get
Well, he's anxious. He's committed to the next couple of fights, so I don't even know who Moore is going to fight. He's entitled to an easy one, so I don't know if those two could get it on and unify the title by November. But back to Holyfield. Ultimately, you have to say, answer the question, is boxing better because of him? You better believe it.
No question about it. The heart of a lion.
Yeah, an honorable man, nothing outrageous about him, just a first-class individual with a lot of life ahead.
Boxing retirements don't usually stick, but this one will. Former heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield is done. He is retired 4 days after he lost his 2 belts to Michael Moore in a majority decision. Doctors in Las Vegas discovered that Holyfield has a congenital heart problem, a condition discovered only because of how spent he was after his 12-round loss.
Immediately following his last fight, Friday night, Mr. Holyfield was taken to the emergency department at Valley Hospital in Las Vegas to treat a kidney condition. He was given massive amounts of fluid to treat this condition. His heart was not able to handle the fluid load, and fluid built up in his lungs. That's when we realized he had a cardiac condition.
He deserves to enjoy the fruits of his labor. And my only thing is if this is what it takes to keep him out of boxing so that he can enjoy his family and his kids, then that's what it takes.
Now I can use my heart in loving people in a different way instead of using my heart in scuffing. I have a wonderful family, and my brothers and sisters, my girlfriend, my kids, and you all, I got a lot of loving to give. And I don't think my heart will break on that.
Well, Holyfield's retirement may not be shocking, but the reason behind it has caught everybody by surprise. So there was extra emotion today behind the assessments of Evander Holyfield's 2 reigns as world champion, including this from the 3rd man in the ring in 5 of Holyfield's title fights.
Evander Holyfield is everything good about the discipline of professional prize fighting. In my years involved in this, I have never met a more complete gentleman, a more complete warrior.
I feel for Evander. Evander's a very nice gentleman. I've always followed him in my career through the light heavyweight division on up to the heavyweight. It was a pleasure to fight him. It was the greatest opportunity in the world.
Outside of Rocky Marciano, I don't think anybody in the history of boxing has ever given more of themselves and made more of themselves than Evander Holyfield. Always gave 125% of himself. For that, he must be remembered as an overachiever.
Evander Holyfield recently talked about being the champ when the Olympics are held in his hometown of Atlanta in 1996. Unfortunately, that's one dream that will not come true for Holyfield.
And like so many boxers before him, Evander Holyfield's last fight was a loss. And here now, Bob Lee with tonight's cover story.
Okay, Charlie, boxers, as you well know, retire all the time, and not many of them stay retired, but Evander Holyfield is done with the ring with a heart condition now that shouldn't be a problem for someone outside the ring. A heart condition discovered only because of Holyfield's spent state after Friday night's loss to Michael Moore. Holyfield's legacy is more than a roll call of victims. It is a history written in courage. Tonight's cover story. There is irony in his retirement. For more than any word, Evander Holyfield was defined by heart. By boxing's brutal terms, Holyfield wore his on his sleeve, along with a deep religious faith. In the large world of heavyweights, Evander Holyfield was a slight man.
All my life, I kind of felt like a little guy because I was the youngest of the family. I always had to do things to catch up, and always going against my brothers who was bigger. And so it's kind of, you know, it kind of just, being a heavyweight champion, people call me small, it's kind of just still motivating.
The usual ticket to boxing's fast lane is an Olympic gold. Holyfield's medal was bronze because of a bizarre disqualification for a late hit. Within 2 years, he was cruiserweight champion. He emerged as a heavyweight contender during Mike Tyson's championship reign. Their inevitable collision was undone first by Tyson's loss. It was Buster Douglas from whom Holyfield took the heavyweight championship 4 years ago.
Where will you be the night Tyson fights Holyfield for the heavyweight championship?
It was to be boxing's first $100 million bout. Instead, Tyson went on trial. So, in a sense, did Holyfield, like Larry Holmes, criticized for the quality of his opponents.
I'm the heavyweight champion of the world now, and that was my goal. My goal was never to just fight Mike Tyson.
My mama taught me to always respect my elders. But, Mr. Foreman, if you think you're going to beat me, you offer your rocker.
He couldn't fight the youngest champion, so he met a 42-year-old former champion, withstanding a brutal 7th round to outlast the bigger man.
I had no idea that man could take so much and give so much. I've never seen anybody take punches like that, but he has a desire in him that I've not seen duplicated. I don't think will be duplicated.
Well, I look at it like this, and I would hope that everybody would look at it as just less, you know, a relationship. You know, start off the first day you're not in love, so you might be infatuated with it, but more time you put in, you find yourself in love with it, and you're willing to endure the storms.
No storm raged deeper or fiercer than his first fight with Riddick Bowe. Holyfield decided to stand and slug with another bigger man. The fight was a classic. So was the display of Holyfield's heart. He lost a unanimous decision and won universal respect.
I have to take my hat off to Riddick Bowe.
51 weeks later, he climbed back into the ring, gave away 20 pounds, and reclaimed the belts from Bowe with a majority decision. Last Friday, Holyfield fought a man his own size, Michael Moore. Holyfield's cardiologist said it was a miracle the champion had the stamina for 12 rounds. Evander Holyfield fought a title fight with heart failure. Still, the fight was close.
I have to often pray and ask, you know, is this an ego thing? Is this something that I really need to continue to do, because I don't want to keep striving and forget about, you know, my health, which is important for myself and plus for my family.
Evander Holyfield retiring today. Al Bernstein joins us again. Al, if there's one moment about Evander Holyfield, you remember this moment well. You were with him in his locker room after the first bullfight. He had made it maybe a tactical error to stand and slug, but in that conversation you saw so much of the essence of the courage of the man who made the decision to stand and fight that night.
that was an extraordinary moment. That might be one of the most extraordinary moments I've had broadcasting boxing. He let me into his dressing room, primarily, I guess, because we'd had a good relationship over the years. And as I sat there looking at a man who I really thought might retire at that point, the only thing I could think of was the fact that in the 11th and 12th rounds, a rich man who had all the money he would ever need had no reason to stand up to the punishment Riddick Bowe was giving him, and yet he did, just to have the chance to finish that fight and stay standing at the end.
Mills Lane has seen many a heavyweight fight at close range. He has officiated 5 different Holyfield fights. He said he would not rank as a fighter Holyfield in the top 5 heavyweights. Where do you put him in the pantheon of heavyweights?
I probably wouldn't put him in the top 5 either. Maybe the top 15 or potentially in the top 15. But I think the key thing you remember about Evander Holyfield is that he was a good heavyweight champion, vulnerable, always in an exciting fight. But more than that even, he was a tremendous cruiserweight. He produced some fights in the cruiserweight division that were extraordinary. And the principal one, it might be one of the top 10 or 20 fights in boxing history, was his fight with Dwight Muhammad Qawi. It was a brilliant display.
The one word you hear more and more today when you talk and look back at the life of, and the career of Evander Holyfield, gentleman.
Yeah, I think that above all, that's what comes through. And I think he portrayed himself that way to the public. And the courage that he showed throughout his career, which he displayed, ironically, in a losing cause when he fought Michael Moore. The irony there is that I still believe that had he fought tactically a correct fight, even in the condition we know he had, he might have ended up winning that fight. But the fact that he was able to work through all those physical problems and show the heart he did was extraordinary.
Okay, Al, thanks for joining us tonight from Las Vegas.
With Evander Holyfield announcing his retirement today, the heavyweight picture is not quite as in focus as it once was.
And on its best days, it's usually a bit fuzzy. But with Holyfield gone, the heavyweight landscape has a new, more barren look about it tonight. Even as Holyfield was leaving the arena following the second and last loss of his career, plans were in the works for a Moorer-Holyfield rematch in the fall. And at the press conference in Atlanta, Holyfield made it clear he would have fought again.
Watching the tape with Michael Moore, I felt that I wanted to fight anyway. But it's no way that I wanted to tell him and make him bitter by saying, you know, I really wanted to fight. I kind of have a feeling that I would get a rematch with him and beat him. But, you know, and then once I was told that, you know, it wouldn't be good for health-wise, you know, I realized that I had to let that go.
So where does this leave the heavyweight division? The new champion, Michael Moore, is holding all the cards.
He's the man who beat the man, so he's the man. And the alphabet starts with M now.
No immediate plans at all. I'm not going to fight probably for the next 6-7 months. I don't know.
If I had my chance, we'd love to see Michael Moore fight Lennox Lewis to unify the heavyweight crowns once again. I think that's unlikely anytime soon.
The heavyweight division has been reduced to a 3-headed monster. Michael Moore, WBC champion Lennox Lewis, and former champion Riddick Bowe. For the past year and a half, TVKO has been attempting to match Lewis and Bowe. But every time an overture has been made, their managers have found reasons not to make the fight. But now, with Moore showing no inclination toward fighting again anytime soon, Lewis and Bowe need one another if they want a major payday. The irony is that if that fight should happen, it would be for the WBC belt, the one which Riddick Bowe dropped into the garbage and was eventually handed to Lennox Lewis. Both Bowe and Lewis realized that the loser of that eventual fight would take a quantum leap down in the ratings and their own marketability. So for now, Lennox Lewis will take on a journeyman, Phil Jackson, a week from Friday. Bowe will fight Buster Mathis Jr. next month. And for the time being, the real power broker in the heavyweight division, Mike Tyson, resides here, and his release from prison is still about a year away. Al Bernstein joins us live now from Las Vegas, and a rather shallow heavyweight division lost about 25% worth of its contenders today with the retirement of Holyfield. Al, what do you see out there in the immediate future?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You're talking about the heavyweight division as a 3-headed monster. It's clear Michael Moore is not going to rush to fight either Lennox Lewis or Riddick Bowe. So if the division is to have some excitement, it's going to have to be between Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis. I think that is the fight that would create some excitement in this heavyweight division. I think if we see, we have to see Lennox Lewis fight Oliver McCall as a mandatory, but I think ultimately the Lewis-Bowe fight might be the fight that would be of biggest interest to the fans.
So below Moore, Bowe, and Lewis, who are the heavyweights at the next level down?
You know, there are some that are starting to create some excitement. Young Larry Donald is one, for instance, who's had a couple good wins. There's a guy even lower on the rung who I may surprise people by mentioning his name, a guy named Samson Pahua, who we're going to hear from in the near future. Has got a lot of power. There are some heavyweights that I think, and then, of course, you can't forget the Ray Mercers still lurking out there and people of that ilk. But those three guys you mentioned at the top are the ones that will probably create the most excitement. And it's vital to boxing, I think, to get them in the ring together.
Can you envision Moore fighting either Lewis or Bowe anytime soon?
No, I don't see that anytime soon. But I'll tell you what I think might be the most interesting fight for him would be Lewis. Because the reason Michael Moore is heavyweight champion today, even disregarding the physical problems of Evander Holyfield, is the fact that he is a lefty. That's why he won that fight. That is also why he would be a favorite in my mind against Lennox Lewis. He would not, however, be a favorite against an in-shape Riddick Bowe, because I believe Bowe would fight him correctly and has too many skills.
And finally, one of the criticisms aimed at Holyfield over the past couple of years is lack of cardiovascular strength. We saw it again, fourth round, Friday night, breathing heavily through his mouth. Now, in retrospect, we know why.
Well, you know, Charlie, I sat there with you, and we were shocked at the fact that Holyfield was tired after the fourth round. We have to say, among many things, and we'll chat about this later, but the legacy of Evander Holyfield has only been heightened by the fact that he fought through some very difficult physical problems to get through the fight against Michael Moore, and even in some people's mind, make it a close fight.
Evander Holyfield says he knew something was wrong even before he first won the heavyweight title from Buster Douglas on the 25th of October, 1990. 2 days in an Atlanta hospital confirmed what Evander said he already knew. He has a heart condition, not life-threatening, not boxing-related, but bad enough to force him into retirement at the age of 31. The diagnosis is a, quote, stiff heart, a non-compliant left ventricle, to be more scientific. The result is fatigue and slowed reaction time, enough to present a danger to Holyfield in the ring. Charlie Steiner has more.
As Holyfield made his way toward his news conference, the former champion seemed to carry ever so gingerly every one of the 23 years he fought, the last 10 as a professional. Even so, his decision to retire, he admitted, wasn't entirely his.
And I'm so glad that Dr. Stevens and Dr. Mars are here to let me know that if I continue to box, this could be bad on my health. And I think the most important thing in life is life.
It hurts, because he deserves to enjoy the fruits of his labor. And my only thing is if this is what it takes to keep him out of boxing so that he can enjoy his family and his kids, then that's what it takes.
Holyfield's condition was discovered when he was hospitalized following the Moorer fight.
He was in excruciating pain. I don't know how he continued through. And then I think it was yesterday I asked him, and he said the adrenaline was flowing, so he was able to go through the fight. But once the fight stopped, he couldn't walk.
He was given massive amounts of fluid to treat this condition. His heart was not able to handle the fluid load, and fluid built up in his lungs. That's when we realized he had a cardiac condition.
Holyfield said that he had been growing increasingly fatigued as he prepared for his fights over the past few years, and the preparation for the Moorer fight was no different.
I remember a time when I never did get tired. And, sparring was just one of the easy things, and I used to whoop on the sparring partner like that. But it came to a point in time in the last 2 or 3 years, my sparring partner got the best of me.
Well, I heard all of them. He's lazy, he's this. I heard all of that before I even come aboard. But by me being a fighter myself, I got feelings for a fighter. And when I saw him wasn't doing so well, I cut it off.
In the fight itself, it became apparent that Holyfield's cardiovascular system wasn't quite right. In fact, he was breathing heavily through his mouth as early as the fourth round.
Well, I had proven to everybody that, I was a champion, and I hope that I left boxing in an up spirit that everybody will have something to be happy about.
In this time when heavyweight champs have had huge profiles and even huger egos, Evander Holyfield's public image was that of a quiet, respectful, and respected, workmanlike professional. As the news of his retirement spread throughout the boxing world, it proved that that was the way his colleagues viewed him as well.
Evander Holyfield is everything good about the discipline of professional prize fighting. In my years involved in this, I have never met a more complete gentleman, a more complete warrior.
I feel for Evander. Evander's a very nice gentleman. I've always followed him in my career through the light heavyweight division on up to the heavyweight. It was a pleasure to fight him. It's the greatest opportunity in the world.
Outside of Rocky Marciano, I don't think anybody in the history of boxing has ever given more of themselves and made more of themselves than Evander Holyfield. Always gave 125% of himself. For that, he must be remembered.
The legacy of Evander Holyfield has only been heightened by the fact that he fought through some very difficult physical problems to get through the fight against Michael Moore, and even in some people's mind, make it a close fight.
Michael Moore says he's in no hurry to unify the heavyweight championship because he has no burning desire to fight WBC title holder Lennox Lewis. The man of many moods and words was in a frisky one earlier today in New York when he picked up his IBF and WBA belts.
Hi, thank you for coming out, and thanks for all the people who supported me. There's been a lot of people who doubted me, and I don't know what to say about it, but I'm happy. I'm the f***ing man now. Yes, I am.
Michael Moore with a very poor Michael Jackson impersonation to begin that.
That was Michael Jackson?
I guess...
The ums tell you Tyson, maybe? A little Tyson touch there?
Either way.
It was bad.
Yeah.
We can't tell who it was. It was really bad.
Tomorrow night, HBO will show all but 1 minute of Moore's victory over Evander Holyfield. The 60 seconds that will be exercised from the broadcast will be George Foreman's comments that promoter Dan Duva had this fight fixed.
Controversy is written all over this fight.
Moore trying to box his way to the heavyweight championship. Holyfield knocks him down. I think that knockdown is going to be a very, very big part of the fight.
With a second-round knockdown, is Holyfield sure to win?
Holyfield coming back, straight right hand, left hook.
Michael, you're blowing it. Could the judges be wrong?
Trying to retain his championship.
Find out Wednesday at 10 on HBO.
I have seen enough.
You be the judge.
Match we will not see again. Michael Moore versus Evander Holyfield. The news this afternoon that Evander Holyfield has announced his retirement upon the advice of doctors who detected a congenital heart condition, not life-threatening, but they best advised Evander that the strenuous lifestyle of a boxer would not fit the condition that he has. Now, Evander talked today to the press from the hospital in Atlanta, and he had talked about even when he was sparring, he felt exhausted. He was getting hurt from sparring partners where he had not been hurt before, and that when he finished the fight, he felt it was kind of he thought he won the fight, even looking at the tape again, but a moral victory the way he felt, dehydrated and exhausted after those 12 rounds.
Yeah, well, that would make a lot of sense, because remember how strong Evander was at the first of that fight, even knocking down Michael Moore in the second round. Then as the fight progressed, he slowly faded, and those last few rounds are the rounds that Michael Moore really picked up and won the heavyweight championship.
Holyfield suffered so much punishment, it's ironic. If he had beaten Moore in the second round, if Moore hadn't survived the knockdown, Holyfield may not have known about his condition at this point.
Yeah, and it's surprising that we learn about Holyfield, but how many other fighters are there out there with the same condition? I know it was several years back that Alexis Arguello had a condition like this, problem in his heart, but he is fighting again.
Well, maybe 6-7 years we'll see Evander back in the ring.
Stranger things happen.
Well, that eliminates one of the options for Michael Moore. And joining us right now, the promoter of Michael Moore, Bill Kozerski, who are right now in the hometown and in the Motor City, and that option is out. That would have been the first option.
Well, that was one of the many options. When we prepared for Evander Holyfield, we really didn't make any plans beyond Evander. So we didn't have any set plans, so this really isn't a derailment of any kind. Michael feels very strongly that in beating Evander, he beat the man, and now that makes him the man. So we're looking at all the options that are out there, all the different big money fights that are out there for Michael, and we're just going to really take our time, make sure that we explore everything, make sure that we represent Michael's best interests. And Michael doesn't feel like he has to fight any one person to prove himself. He has proved himself. Certainly there's Riddick Bowe, certainly there's Lennox Lewis, but we're going to take our time and make the right decision for Michael.
Well, there certainly has been a trend. Evander Holyfield had his fights with Larry Holmes and with George Foreman. Riddick Bowe also initially when he won the title, then went out against the Jesse Fergusons of the world and Michael Dokes. Is there any indication that that's the route that Michael Moore will take initially?
No, Michael's prepared to prove himself against the best in the division. He's never ducked anybody on the way up. He's not going to duck anybody now. So he wants to defend actively and take on the best.
You feel that the disclosure this afternoon by Holyfield diminishes Moore's victory in any way?
No, not in any way, because the doctors made it very clear that this was a pre-existing condition, that he'd had it for a long time, that it in no way incapacitated him during the fight. Michael won very soundly. If you look at the punch stat, if you look at the way the fighters looked after the fight, there's no doubt that Michael had a very, very convincing victory, and we're very proud of his performance.
Michael Moore won the fight, but there's also a star born on that night. Teddy Atlas in the corner of Michael Moore. Two hard-nosed personalities, but I got the feeling after the fight that Teddy Atlas had hinted that he might not want to ride that emotional roller coaster again. Atlas and Moore, do you see them too combustible to last, or is it a match made in heaven?
I think it's more of a match made in heaven. They're very much alike. There's tremendous mutual respect for one another. They work very, very well together. It's a perfect marriage. They are both very emotional. At times they're volatile, but they've been really great for one another. I'm very happy for Teddy. I think he's finally got some of the recognition that he's been due, and he brought out the best of Michael, and Michael really performed the other night.
All right, Bill Kozerski, the promoter of Michael Moore, and also has to get back to work promoting the fight here tonight at the Palace of Auburn Hills.
We beat of his life as a former heavyweight champion and a former prize fighter. His health is fine as long as he doesn't fight anymore, and he vows that he will not.
While I was in the game of boxing, I enjoyed and I loved. I did all that I can. Now that it's time to step in, I truly believe it's just time to just move on to something even better. And I know my trust is in God that everything will be fine.
Will you go to any fight? Will you go to any fight?
Yeah, I'm going to see Lennox Lewis fight, and I'm going to Vegas to see Chavez fight. I'm going to support a lot of things. I'm going to enjoy it.
And we learned just within the past hour there is another problem with Evander Holyfield's heart. A tiny hole was discovered in it between the two chambers. It is not considered life-threatening. It is something he is born with, and it's something they're going to have to closely monitor. Evander Holyfield, now we discover, has a small hole in his heart.